Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Live to Roll channel. I am your host for the day, Brianna Wheeler. We are back with another women's disability show, and today we are talking about disability pride and advocating for ourselves. So it is Disability Pride Month, actually. So this is why we're touching on the topic. Sean actually did a really good conversation on Tuesday with our lovely twins, Ashley and Nikki. So make sure to go check that out too. They talked about a lot of great conversations. So let's start with introductions. My name is Brianna. I've been injured for 5 years. I was shot and I am injured T12 through L5. How about you, Jessica?
Hi everyone. So my name's Jessica. I am a C7 incomplete and I have been injured for 10 years after a car accident.
Thank you. And Maya?
My name is Maya, and I am a C5, C6 quadriplegic. I have been injured for 3 years by gunshot wound.
Thank you. And let's go to Ashley and Nikki.
I'm Nikki and this is Ashley. We're twin sisters. We were paralyzed in
March of 2019.
I'm a T6 paraplegic.
I'm a C4 quad.
In a car accident.
Thank you, loves. Woohoo! Just so happy to be here and talk about this subject. Maya, I wanted to tell you, I heard this hashtag with one of the girls that were on our last show, Bentley, and she called us bulletproof babes. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. So for all
I love that.
gunshot, I know, so cute.
I have a friend that she tattooed it to her head right here. So she was shot when she was shot when she was like 7. I don't know if you know Rocio. She's like an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's amazing. So she actually tattooed bulletproof on herself.
How cute. That is so cute. I think that's adorable, especially because we're always saying like babes and stuff. But yeah, so cute. See, that's a part of like taking ownership of your disability as well. And like that kind of goes on our subject that we're talking about is just like owning it instead of looking at it as something that's bad, right? So let's just go into our first question because I'm already kind of getting into it. What does disability pride mean to you? So this one is a little bit difficult, but for me personally, it's just taking confidence in myself and not really looking at my disability as a flaw, but rather as just something that's a part of me. So it's not something that I look at myself and I'm just like, yuck, which could be my mindset in the beginning was like that. And now I have ownership and confidence within my disability. And yeah, that's taking pride in it for me. And let's go to Maya. What does disability pride mean to you?
Okay, so I love this question. And for me, disability pride also means owning who I am and everything that comes along with my disability. Not just like the good, motivating parts, the inspiring parts, as people would say, but the parts that we don't want to talk about either. The parts that we, sometimes cry about, the parts that hurt us the most, and just owning that and knowing who we are despite that, and that's, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think it's easy to be frustrated at our disability and look at it as something that's like ugly and negative about us instead of being a part of us, like I can complain that I have brown hair all day long, but it's just like that's going to do about it. And I think that's what's kind of hard about disability too, because it's like people take pride in their race, people take pride in like being in being gay, people take pride in different things about themselves, but like nobody really says, oh, I want to be disabled, like that's just the greatest thing ever. So I think that's what makes it a little bit more difficult about like finding that ownership of it. How about you, Jessica? What does disability pride mean to you?
I think for me, it's been representing it and owning it. I think at the beginning of my injury, and I talk about this, like, I'm very forgetful. I would forget that I was disabled to some extent. Like, people would stare at me and I just smile. And to me, it was like normal. Like, oh, a pretty girl, they smile at you. I totally would space out, like, oh shit, wait a second, I'm disabled. And for a long time, it was like my disability wasn't what represented me, and I had to learn that it's not what represents me, but it's definitely an amazing part of me, right? Instead of like forgetting it and kind of leaving it out, I've learned to like just acknowledge it and represent it more.
Love that. Love that. And how about you, Nikki and Ashley?
I think disability pride for me, wow. I think I said this in Tuesday's live. I think it's like loving yourself, like jumping off what Maya said, just loving yourself through all of it and loving your disability because that is a huge part of our lives. Our like we should feel passionate about our disability. Like it's nothing to be ashamed about. So I think that's like disability pride.
Yeah, and then for me, then for me, I would say disability pride means just like advocating for myself, for others in the community, and then being proud, reminding myself that I'm worthy. And then a big one for me is just letting myself know and other people know disabled people are human. We're not just disabled and that's that.
Yeah.
We live
Yeah,
Yeah, we have other human experiences too.
yeah, that's not the only category I fall under. I'm not just
Yeah.
disabled. Yeah, definitely. Um, and then I just want to say hi to Adina in the chat. If you guys are joining us live, make sure to comment and tell us where you're from, or if you have any questions or anything like that, and I'll be reading them off throughout our live. So we'd love to talk to you guys. Okay, let's see. When was the first moment that you first wait? When was the moment that you were first called disabled or felt extremely disabled, and how did that make you feel? So let's go to Jessica.
I have to say this is probably like I've been injured 11 years, so it's been so long. I think leaving the hospital was the biggest realization just because I had to ask for more help and kind of explain to people more of the help that I needed. Inside the hospital, it's like everyone's job is to help you, and that made more sense. But in like going home and just like even asking my friends for more help or explaining things to them or, you know, people not realizing I'm a quad because that happens so much. So the hand thing, always having to like, oh wait, my hands don't work. Can you open this? At the beginning it was like, oh shit. Now it's just common for me and natural, but at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it's abnormal. So you have to like make it like normal again to you to even be saying those words, right? Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
difficult. I definitely feel for my quads out there. Um, okay, how about you, Nikki and Ashley? When was the first moment that you were called disabled or that you felt extremely disabled? What did that moment feel like for you?
I actually think I spoke about this in a woman show before, but it was one time in the hospital. I always remember this. I was still in the hospital, wasn't in rehab, and an OT came and I had to look in the mirror for the first time, and just seeing like my legs dangling off the bed, like I was like, wow, like this is real. Um, and I think that's like the moment I realized, like, or I felt like super disabled and probably the most disabled because I think as like I'm only like 2.5 years out, and like not to say I feel any less disabled, but I definitely learned to adapt more. So it makes me feel, I guess, like more prideful in my disability, so I know how to navigate it, which I think was an important thing. So yeah.
When you first saw yourself, did you feel like emotional, like sad, or did you feel angry?
I was sad. I started crying. I was like, well, because it was just hadn't seen my body. I hadn't seen myself. I was like really skinny. I was saw my I, they sat me up like on the bed, so I was like my feet were dangling, and it was just like weird. Like I couldn't even like move them, and I just saw myself. And at the time, I couldn't even balance myself. So I was just like, well, like it was a lot. I even was just like, wow, just looking at myself in the mirror, just crying because it was the first time. Like it was only like 2 weeks in, and I was like, wow, this is. It made it more real, I guess, to see myself like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that first time seeing yourself in the mirror is always a shocker and like always a reality check. Definitely. I definitely agree. How about you, Ashley?
For me, I guess the moments where like being like feeling I guess disabled comes in like the little moments, like when I notice like little things about my body that aren't the same anymore.
Mhm.
Does that like make sense?
Yeah.
It's like the little things, or like noticing like the little things I can't do anymore. I'm like, oh, this is frustrating. Those are the moments where I'm like, wow, I am disabled.
Mhm. And like, do you get more angry about your hand function or just about your injury in general? Or do you think it's easy because you don't have your hand function to focus on that?
It's a good question.
Because I would say like now I've definitely learned to like adapt, and I'm pretty good at like what I can do with my hands. I'm pretty good at what I can do.
Yeah.
Would you say? But yeah, it does like get to me like remembering certain things that I could be able to do on my own if I did have hand function.
Mhm. Yeah,
Sometimes that's
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Maya? How do you feel?
Um, for me, I think I could relate a lot to what Nikki was saying when she couldn't balance for the first time, you know. And for me, core balance being a quad has really been a struggle. And even now, like I can sit up for like 5, 10 minutes at a time, but I have to watch out for the wobbles and spasms and stuff like that. And that's been really hard to deal with. Um, and like even now, like laying on my stomach, because that was something that my PT told me is really good to stretch. And when I'm laying on my stomach, I actually had to do that today for an allergy test on my back. And like I can't move, you know, like it's hard for me to turn my neck the other way. Like somebody came in the room and didn't knock, and so I can't even see who it is or, you know, like anything. And even, I can't look. And that makes me feel really disabled, like really like, oh wow, like dang, I used to be able to do this. This used to be so easy. This has never been a problem, you know, not since I was like 6 months old when I learned how to roll over, you know. So
Yeah,
it's
that's such a
definitely
funny point that you touched on because I think like I often remind newly injured people like the difference between when we were growing up when we were small and having to relearn stuff now is our negative mindset. Like when we were learning how to use the bathroom and walking and all that stuff, we didn't care because all we cared about was our goal. Whatever we wanted was in front of us. We didn't care who was watching. We didn't care who was recording us. We didn't care what you were saving on your camera roll. We didn't care about none of that. Like we were just trying to get the candy that you were dangling in front of us. So we were trying to walk over there, you know? Or like you just have to use the bathroom. You have to use the bathroom. Like unless they are teaching you, you have to be told over and over to go inside of the toilet and which way is the right way to use the bathroom, right? So like you have to be trained that way, and nothing's really going through your head like, oh my gosh, everybody's using the bathroom and I'm using a diaper, like what's wrong with me? Like you're not worried about that when you're a baby, you know? It's just like, I gotta go, I gotta go. So I think that's a funny thing to remember. um but for me, the first time that I really was called disabled, I think I had a lot of moments in the hospital, but when I got out, I had applied for Social Security and I had a mark that I was disabled and that I was homeless because I was actually living inside of a hotel at the moment. And it made me so sad because I was like, is that what I am now? That's what those are my categories, like disabled and homeless. Like what, like I would have never thought that this is where I would be, you know, like asking for help and just like struggling so much in my life. And it kind of just put it inside of my face. And I remember like calling my mom afterwards and like crying, and like she didn't really have any words for me because it kind of was just like a sucking feeling that I had to get over, right? And like I think I just viewed it as something that was negative inside of my head, honestly. I just like felt overwhelmed by the idea that this was going to be my new life. And of course, you're not taught all these things and showed all these things when you're first in the hospital. So you don't really know what to expect. And I didn't meet anybody inside of a wheelchair and nothing. So that was really hard for me. Like having to actually mark down that I am disabled. I was like, wait, what? Like that is what I'm considered now? Like, what do you mean? You know? So that was definitely hard for me. In the chat, let's see. Hi, Lisa, for joining us. Hello, Otis. Hello, Andrew. Adina said, in the beginning, I called myself as differently abled until I learned to embrace my disability and remind myself it's okay to ask for help. Yeah, I think that it's hard to own the word disabled. We're kind of taking it back now as on social media and like as a community as a whole. But for a while, it's kind of looked down upon, and we were trying to get away from that word, right? Because that word's a negative word, which we'll touch on later on in the show, but it's viewed in the world as something negative. So all of a sudden, when that's your definition, you're like, what do you mean? You know, and it's kind of like a shock, I think. Um, And then Andrew joining us too. Hi, Andrew. Thank you for joining us again. Okay, so going on to our next question, what is a specific experience that made you overly proud to be disabled? So switching it up a little bit, what made you more happy to be disabled? So let's go to Ashley and Nikki.
What made me overly proud to be disabled? I think something, I was thinking about this question. I think something about being disabled and like when I was proud is like we tend to like compare ourselves to like other people a lot, but honestly when I'm overly proud is when I compare myself from like just like remembering that moment when I was in the hospital and I couldn't even balance and just seeing myself now. It makes me proud that I got this far. Not a lot of people can say they like went over that hurdle and they not only gained strength but also like you switched your mindset up and you're just like in a better place. So I think I get proud when I compare myself to like what I could do. Even just the day before, like just today I was running errands during the day and I transferred into a Grand Cherokee Jeep by myself. And before my dad has the same car, before he'd have to help me. So I was like, wow, like and Ashley saw it and she's like, you just did that all by yourself. And I was like, yeah. And a year ago that wasn't the case. So it's just like that made me proud. So like
Yeah.
comparing myself to myself.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's so important. You gave me chills actually because I think it's so cool when people are like, "Oh, I can't do it," and like they don't want to try, but when you actually try and you get it down, the adrenaline rush and that feeling that you get from completing it is just like uncomparable. I love it so
Yeah.
much. I agree. How about you, Ashley?
Yeah, and then I agree with my sister because, and but then also like kind of the same as like when I feel disabled. It's like those little moments of like I used to not be able to do this, or like when I got my trach out, I was like wow, I did that, you know. And then like the little things, like maybe if I pick up something that's maybe before I couldn't pick up from the floor because it was too heavy, but now I'm like, oh, I just picked that up on my own, and it used to be too heavy for me to even do that because as a pod sometimes I need both my hands, but sometimes you can't do that when you're trying to also get up. My wheelchair users would understand what I'm saying. So it's like moments like that where I'm like really proud of myself for like when I brush my teeth on my own. That's something I used to never even thought I was gonna be able to do on my own, and now I can. So it's like the little moments, but also like, wow, I'm proud of myself. I know it's conceited, but I'm proud of myself.
That's proud.
Yeah.
Disability pride, right?
I think it's so important to take to focus on those little things because I think it's really easy to block those out and forget them and forget how far you come and forget how hard it was for you in the beginning. And it's so easy to focus on the next thing that you can't do that you kind of forget all the things that you have learned how to do. So I think it's so important to take a minute and be like, wow, I'm really proud of myself for just getting through this day and trying new things and doing things that I could not do a year ago. Like that's so important. Agree 1,000%. How about you, Maya? What was the moment where you felt extremely proud to be disabled?
So, like throughout 2020, I've had a few of those moments just because of like my activism within my community and, like going out and holding protests and organizing and mobilizing like hundreds of people, and that is super powerful because, a lot of people look at it from the outside like this little girl in the wheelchair is like leading this protest, and, it just gives me an opportunity to like speak for those that are unheard and to show people that don't know what disabled people can do or what people with disabilities are actually capable of. Just because our bodies may be affected by something doesn't mean that we're incapable of anything. And having the chance to showcase that to a bunch of people and make changes in my community, like actual like legal changes, has been so incredible to me, and it's really made me proud of myself and who I am in its whole.
We can't hear you.
Are you muted?
Oh, I was muted. Sorry, guys. Here I am back. I definitely relate to that so much, Maya, because I feel like my disability gave me a purpose, right? And I feel like I meet with newly injured people like weekly in the hospital, and I just like do all these different things, taking leadership in my community gives me so much gratefulness, and I couldn't be more happy to be able to do this. So I think that has made me really proud to be disabled. Also when I watch Crip Camp, I think that really changed my mindset because I didn't realize like the history of being disabled, and how much they have fought for. And like also I watching them at the camp, it made me realize that it's the world that makes you feel disabled. It's not so much personal. And I feel like that made me really proud to continue fighting this fight. It made me like a part of the fight too. And I want to see in 10 years what change I can make too. So that was a big difference for me. And what made me more proud of my disability. How about you, Jessica?
Well, I mean, I think listening to all of you, like so much stuff came to my mind, but I have to say that I'm really like, do you guys remember Stuart from, what was it? Mad TV? And he'd be like, look what I can
Oh,
do. Look what
yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
do.
yeah. I do know who you're talking about.
So like that was me since day one. Like the first time I was able to feed myself, like I think like it was like a month in, and I had like a fully adapted spoon, and I was finally able to do it. I was like, Mom, look what I can do. And I think throughout everything, that's just the mentality that I've always had of like celebrating those small wins. Like Ashley said, like I think I don't know if it's a quad thing, but I think the reason the small things are so big to us is because like the tiniest change can make such a difference for us. And then on the biggest moment where I was like, oh shoot, I'm really proud of myself, was when I was finally like 2.5 years in, and I was finally able to calf, and I was finally driving and independent, and I started working at Rancho, and being at the hospital with newly injured patients and knowing that I was going to be doing that every day, teaching them how to recover, I was like, oh shit, that's where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that big realization, like, oh my God, like I did all that, and not knowing at the beginning that I would ever be able to become fully independent and just to be doing my own thing and, living the life that I wanted to live. It was huge. Yeah, it's starting to work with newly injured patients, and even recently, with Triumph, I went to teach a para how to calf. And like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, oh, I'll come to your house, I'll teach you. And I showed her how to do everything, and she was like, oh my God, like I would have never thought of that. And I was like, oh yeah, I had to learn all that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told her, I was like, well, I learned it so you wouldn't have to take so long. And I think just my community gives me so much pride. Like when people are like, oh my God, Jessica, you're so amazing, but they're able-bodied, I'm like, I know like hundreds of people like me.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're amazing. So to me,
Yeah. As a group, yeah, I definitely relate so much. I got chills because the newly injured community, I don't think it's like something you can really explain unless you really go through it. But to be able to go in there at somebody's lowest moments and really help them through and give them just these little tips, because basically it's like, I don't have my full life figured out. I don't have all the answers to my disability, but I have a couple tips that could help you, that could make a world of difference, that could make years of recovery on their end. And
yeah.
just to be a part of that. And it's like, if I wasn't here, like who knows if they would have somebody to relate to, who knows who would be like in the spot, like trying to help. And I just think that that's something to take pride in. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's going on in the chat. So Lisa says, it's taken a very long time for me to stop longing for all the things I used to be able to do and start looking forward to what I can do now. Yeah, I think that's like not just with disability. I think that's just in life general. I think we're not really taught to look at all the positive things. And I think even COVID has helped society become more grateful for just the little things in life. And they don't realize about like the toilet paper that you use and the hand sanitizer and being able to go out to events and just all these little tiny things to look forward to that you can do in the day rather than being irritated, because it's so easy to be irritated. It's irritated, like you're irritated in traffic, you're irritated because something went wrong, you're irritated because you have a headache, all these different things, right? So Andrew, getting around on cobbled surfaces, oh, definitely hard, especially with my nerve pain. I remember, so we should touch on this since it's Disability Pride Month. So I was so irritated with those little yellow bumps when you go, before you go to streets. Irritated as how, never realized how many they were all around, right? They drive my legs crazy. They make them jump off the plate. My nerves go absolutely nuts. And I was like, these are so annoying. I said it out loud one time with a bunch of my other wheelchair friends. And I was like, after a support group, and I was like, I wish they would just take them away. And they're like, the reason why they're there is for blind people, so they could make sure that they don't go into the street. And I was like, dude, here I am so worried about like my disability, my nerve pain, that I just totally block out all the other disabilities. And I was like, I felt like so ashamed of myself. But and that just goes to show you that people don't know. You know, we're not taught about different disabilities. We're not taught what's made for people and what makes people's life easier. We don't know. We literally have to find out for ourselves, you know?
Honestly, the same thing happened to me because I spasm with them. And when someone told me, I was like, oh my God, I'm such an asshole.
Same. Learning how to do wheelchair wheelies. Oh yeah, that definitely makes me happy. Adina, those moments make me so happy, Nikki. Those are for the little things, definitely. Where there's a will, there's a way. We have a super chat from Amber. Thank you, Amber, so much. She says, let's see. Oh, there's a little pair character and it says, keep it up. Thank you so much, Amber. We definitely appreciate the super sticker. That means so much to us and helps us out so much. Peter, I might be speaking out of turn here, but I see no disability here. I see percent strong ladies capable of anything. Oh, how cute. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us again. We really appreciate you always in the chat supporting us. Ashley, we got a super chat from Ashley. Woohoo! Happy Disability Pride Month, Chi-Tao twins. We love you guys. Amber, great discussion. These women are rock stars. Another super sticker from Ben. Thank you so much, Ben. Fist and bump. Written on his knuckles. Oh, it's a little character. I don't know why that's not showing me the characters today. It's just giving me the description for some reason. Sorry, it's throwing me off a little bit. We have a couple more. Andrew, I've been parts of the UK and Europe, and I used to have difficult, but learned how to get across them. Yeah, you're always going to run into different obstacles, but I think one thing that my disability has taught me is to look at the solutions of things rather just than the obstacles. Another super sticker from Ben. Thank you so much, Ben. We definitely appreciate you. We always see you in the chat supporting us, and we definitely love you so much. Thank you for joining us week after week again. I see you in the guys' chat as well, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Eric Kid Productions. Hi, ladies. You all looking great. Thank you. Thank you. Face of Spades, Baller Ben, always making it rain. I know, he does support us a lot. We appreciate it, right? Step it up, Face of Spades. Just kidding. Okay, let's see where we are in our questions. Okay, in what situation do you feel the absolute need to advocate for yourself, and why? For me, it's just when I feel more disrespected that I feel the need to advocate for myself. I feel like in the healthcare situations, it's like, that's when I really feel the need to speak up, because I feel like they deal with a lot of different disabled people, and that they should know how to respectfully treat us, at least like not be rude and not make me feel less than. So if I feel like I am getting the runaround from them, or I just feel like they're not really giving me the attention that I need, regardless, I do give like leeway. I know people have rough days, right? Not everybody's perfect, but it's like, if you're working in a healthcare system and I'm just trying to get my needs as well done, like, why are you going to make me feel like crap for that, you know? So when I'm dealing with doctors and stuff, or like even the people in the front, I definitely feel the need to advocate for myself and tell them what I need in a timely manner when I talk to my doctors, to be on my I can't think of the word. I want to say prescriptions, but that's not the word I'm thinking of. What's the other thing? Referrals. There we go. Ooh, referrals we need. So I think that I'm really on them about that. And when they're taking a long time or just shoving me to the side, really bringing that to their attention and making them realize like this is a necessity for me. And it's not something that I want to be asking for. It's something that I have to be asking for. And not all of them are nice, but I think it just puts something in their head. So that's when I feel the most need to advocate. How about you, Maya? When do you feel the most need to advocate for yourself?
So I go to the doctor all the time. So I really relate to what you just said, Brianna. I have to advocate for myself constantly in healthcare, especially because where I'm from is like I live an hour south of Chicago. So I'm in like this little cornfield town, and there aren't many people with spinal cord injuries or many people in wheelchairs or with disabilities that are really truly advocating for themselves, you know. So they're a little like standoffish when I start advocating for myself, and then they kind of do what I want them to do. So I'm thankful for that part. Um, but another way, like just out in the community and when I'm talking to different people, is when people say like really ableist things. I feel the need to advocate for myself and for the community there, just because it's really easy to change those words, you know, when you're speaking. If you make a conscious effort, you know, if you're like intentionally wanting to like not offend anyone or hurt anyone, it's super easy. So I like to educate people about using like person first language instead of saying, oh, the disabled person, you know, that person with disabilities or stuff like that. I just think it's super important and really easy. If you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, then why not just make that switch in your mind?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like sometimes people don't realize when they're being rude. And I think that Sean and Tom and the twins touched on that on Tuesdays. It's just like there's a difference of being like funny and then being rude. And I don't think people that are not disabled realize the difference of it. So it's kind of hard to explain it to people because it's like, yeah, we can joke around, but it doesn't mean that you have to be rude to me. And it's just like that with able-bodied people, right? You know, you can make little fun jokes at people, but if you're coming at them and you're like attacking them or being mean to something and being like, wow, look at your eyes today, they look so big and ugly, you know, like something so rude, it's like, okay, funny, haha, you know. Definitely. How about you, Ashley and Nikki? What situation do you feel the need to advocate in?
The situation I feel okay. I would definitely agree with Brianna and Maya on the like the healthcare system for sure. That was like when we got the questions, one thing I thought of. But so I won't touch on that too much because you guys already did perfectly described it well. How tough it is to navigate the healthcare system and as well as be a on top of that be disabled.
Get what you need.
Yeah, and navigate. It's already hard enough to navigate it, and then you add disability and like all the care and the needs you needs, and it just makes it harder. But I think in another situation, and I didn't know if this even related to the question, but I'm gonna say it because this was on my mind. But I think I feel good when I go out into the real world and I'm like, I think sometimes this like stereotype of disability is like dirty, like, you know, we pee and shit on ourselves. And I'm being real. Like, I think that's like the stereotype. We're miserable. We don't like, we can't speak for ourselves. Like, that's what people think. It's not true, but that's what people think. And I think it's cool when I go out into the real world and I'm just like a kind girl. I look fresh, you know. And I just feel like that's showing the world like we're real people. And like when I'm nice to people, when I treat everyone around me like with respect, I say hi, they all of a sudden get more comfortable. But like before, they probably were going to try to avoid me. And to me, that feels like a sense of advocacy. Maybe it's not in like some people's eyes, but that's to me, at least I'm showing like the people in my neighborhood, like, because they know us. Like, I think I've said this before, but we've lived in the same neighborhood. So it's like, you see me still being me. Like, my disability didn't change me. If anything, it made me better, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important is just owning that, right? And just like living life. And that's something kind of what I tell people about like their grocery stores. Cause for a lot of people, when they first get injured, going into a big setting like that, where there's a lot of different people and you're kind of like usually the only one inside of a wheelchair besides like some older people that are in the Walmart wheelchairs, right? And it's like everybody's staring at you all of a sudden, and you could think of all these negative things in your head and be like worried the whole time, looking at everybody looking at you. Or you could just go shopping and live your life and make them realize that you're still just rolling around and doing the same thing that they're doing in a wheelchair, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, I love that so much. How about you, Ashley?
For me, definitely like what everybody has said so far, healthcare for sure. If you don't advocate there, like, yeah, for what?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also like to advocate just in terms of like educating others. Like if you're open to learning about disability, about education, to learn together.
Yeah.
And about like internalized ableism and just ableism in general. I think it's important to let people
Mm-hmm.
know that how like it kind of like seeps through unintentionally just because.
And like make them aware of their own
Yeah.
ableism, because people don't realize it. Like, I mean, let's be real. Like, before I got injured, I was only injured 2 years ago. I'm sure I had some ableist thoughts in my head.
Yeah, and you probably just didn't realize it because that's just like it's so normal and it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
So I just definitely like to advocate like in that area because it's just a lot of messed
Yeah.
up stuff when it comes to disability.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely struggle with it as well, and like trying to change my mindset and like look more into it and different stuff like that. So it's definitely something that I struggle with still, in my disability. How about you, Jessica? When do you feel the need to advocate?
Um, well, I think you guys, obviously, all of us are going to say healthcare. Uh,
Those
Amen.
quirks.
for me, I think piggybacking off of what Ashley said, I think I'm very forgiving of people and what they don't know just because I didn't know, right? I wanted them to get rid of all the bumps, and blind people would have had a really hard time. And that's just because I don't know about that. It's not something I know. So for me, little things like if I go to a bar and I realize like there is an easy way to make the restroom more accessible, I'll mention it. And very lightheartedly, like I know I went to a bar one time in the restroom. I don't transfer to calf, right? So it worked for me because I just have to roll up to the toilet. Um, and the lady at the bar had said, we have this restroom in the back. So just know that if you need to go, we have a restroom. And when I came out, she was like, how did it work out? And they had all the lockers for the employees in there. And even though they don't bother me, if you're someone in a wheelchair that needs to transfer, you wouldn't have been able to. And there was no turn
Mhm.
room. And I was like, well, it worked out. I'm like, but why do you have lockers? How am I supposed to put my chair next to the toilet? And then she was like, oh my God. And when I came back, they were all gone.
Oh, yeah, that's super cool.
Small things like that, like if I see a place that can make changes, I'll suggest it. I think they don't know how we use the restroom. I don't think they've ever thought about it. So little things like that, or better entrances, or just little things that they might not be aware of. I'm pretty open to talking about it or letting them know, not in a rude way or anything, because I understand that a lot of people just didn't think about it. So just small ways of trying to get more accessibility for us, or just us seen in general.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that that's so important. And just speaking up, if you have the strength to speak up, and like you're not like super quiet or have anxiety or anything like that, like it doesn't hurt because sometimes you feel like you're being like a brat about things, but you're honestly not, because if it was them going through it and they couldn't get on the toilet and sit down like in their head logically, they would make space for it. There's not going to be lockers right in front of the toilet because obviously they have to get through to sit on the toilet, so in their head like everything's fine. So you just have to like alter their perspective of it like a little bit. um and yeah. So let's see, let's go to the next question. um, where am I? Oh, what disability topic or situation do you not feel comfortable talking or advocating for or discussing? So for me personally, when I think about this, honestly, I get uncomfortable when I have to teach people how to talk to us about like inspiration and stuff, only because I view it a little bit differently. And I've really struggled with this because I see it as a problem in our community. I've seen lots of different posts on it, and people get really, really frustrated on this topic, right? Viewing disabled people as inspiration porn and using us as a reason to look at your life as better. And so when people come at me and they give me those expressions or they tell me that I'm inspiring them or I'm motivating and stuff like that, I I don't really say like, hey, the majority of our disabled friends don't like to be called an inspiration, because it's kind of a hard subject for me to explain myself only because I feel so differently about it. And I almost feel I literally had to talk to my therapist about it because I feel like I'm doing something wrong almost by feeling that way. But what I realized is everybody thinks differently and they have different ways to get over their injury. And personally, that's how I get through. I know that in my life has been extremely difficult, and I've needed to look at people for inspiration a lot of different times. And I don't feel like I mind being that for somebody else, regardless. Like, if I can just push you to do a little bit more better in your day or to not complain a little bit more, to whatever the case may be, like, go for it. I don't have a problem with it. So I feel like I get a little bit uneasy when I feel the need to explain that topic to other able-bodied people or even people in wheelchairs. Honestly, I really just like don't like discussing the topic in general. How about you, Jessica?
Um, that's an interesting one. I love that you brought that up because I think I've been injured 11 years, and I think at the beginning I was like, what the hell? But at this point, I agree with you. Like, I own it, and it's part of my pride. And I think same thing. Like, if you opened the door for me and that was your good deed of the day, then I'm happy for you. I don't really. I don't think there's because so my job as a mentor at Rancho was to talk about every topic you can think about. Like, that was my job. Um, I don't really think there's any topic I don't feel comfortable discussing or educating people on, and that's just me. I think any question anyone has ever asked, I'm very comfortable talking about it. Maybe bringing up topics myself isn't something that I naturally do. Like I said, I have to remind myself I have a disability and that people don't realize what my life is like, because I forget. Like, to me, it's my normal. So I forget it's not other people's normal. So I think the only thing, it's not that I feel uncomfortable. I just never think about bringing up my disability. Right. And I think some people have told me, like, oh, do you mind if I ask? And I'm like, oh, ask me anything. I'm pretty open to any topic. I'm just not the type to usually bring it up because I forget. Like, I've been
Mhm.
disabled for 11 years. To me, it's like, this is just my life. I don't get what's the mystery, but because it's not a mystery to me.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I agree so much. I think it's like easier to look at it in the beginning and be a little bit more irritated with it, but then like as life goes on, you might look at it different. Or you're not. I mean, I've met different people that feel completely 1,000% opposite about this topic than I do. And like by all means, like share that with whoever you talk to, and advocate for yourself and teach them, the people that you're dealing with, how to deal with you. Like that's totally fine. I just think in like speaking in like this is how you should treat all disabled people, like I don't feel comfortable like saying those terms. um, how about you, Ashley and Nikki? When do you not feel comfortable advocating or talking about something?
I don't know if this is like technically like advocating or not, which I agree to both what Jessica said, so I'm just gonna say something else that I was thinking of. Is sometimes I have a hard time, I guess, like trying to explain or like overly explaining my pain because I don't want people to think that I'm lying or like people to not believe me. And I think that's something I've definitely tried working on. Like now, like, I definitely need off days because sometimes the pain wins. And I found myself sometimes like would feel bad to have to cancel plans or have to cancel like whatever I had planned that day, even if it was just staying at home, like doing something, even just with my sister. I feel like I have to overly explain it. And now I'm just kind of like, no, if I don't feel like I shouldn't have to explain that to anyone. How much pain I'm in shouldn't have to be explained, but it's still something that they feel like I work on, and definitely try to listen to my body because there's been moments where I haven't listened to my body and it's kicked me in the butt for more days than it would have if I would have just like listened to it the one day. So
Mhm.
I think that's something that I find, but I'm pretty much an open book. Like Jessica said, I people ask me questions like all the time on Instagram and stuff, and I'm not hesitant to like be real. You know, I'm over here. I'll call myself PP girl. Like it is what it is. Like I'm not ashamed to admit that like sometimes like this disability, there's things that we might not want to talk about, but like it's true. Like you know, like I think a lot of people don't talk about the accidents, or like I pee on myself like every day, and like I don't like I tell people that like it gets hopefully it gets better, and you know you can work with your doctors, but sometimes it's just what you have to deal with for however long until you figure it out, because like we already talked about the healthcare system. So I'm pretty much an open book. I even people ask me questions all the time, and I just feel like I don't know. I think I just became really passionate when I became disabled, because I don't know. I feel like there's a bigger purpose for why this happens to everyone, and whether you believe in things or not, I think it's like important to know that like we're all here for a reason. So
Mhm.
I just went on a ramble, but yeah.
No, no, girl, you're preaching away. I think pain is such a difficult subject for us to talk about, and I like felt the same way. It was like, okay, I'm in pain every single day. It's like, okay, we get it, you're in pain. So I kind of just blocked it away. But then when my mom saw actually one of my posts that I made on Instagram, she's like, you still feel nerve pain? And I was like, yeah, I remember like my legs burn. She's like, I remember, but I just forgot. I didn't think that you still had it from the hospital until now. I'm literally 5 years injured still, guys. And it's like I deal with it every single day. And it's just like not inside of her head because it's not something that I'm constantly complaining about or like putting out there. But I think it's important also. What I realize is every once in a while I do touch on it on my social media or in person to people just to kind of put it inside of their head because they can forget as well that we're disabled and that we're going through stuff. And it's like, okay, I'm not just missing your party because I'm a horrible friend. I'm missing your party because I literally can't get out of bed today, you know, and I'm in so much pain. And it's like so like hard to kind of explain that to people, right? So totally agree with you, 1,000%. How about you, Ashley? When do you feel uncomfortable advocating or talking about a certain subject?
Um, I don't know if I was gonna say like maybe it is uncomfortable, but I definitely get like anxiety like talking because your advocacy, like you know, I can advocate all day. I advocate a lot on like my social medias, and I can advocate all day on social media. But like, if you don't apply that to like honestly to the people closest to you, like your friends and your family, call them out on their ableism, then nothing's really gonna change because it's gotta start like within your circles. And that's I think I'm kind of like uncomfortable with that because those sometimes are it could be like the people that like come at you back at you or think like you're trying to attack them. It's like no, I'm just trying to educate you as I'm learning because I know I didn't know this, so I'm you probably didn't either because disability
Like it's
is
not a vicious thing.
yeah, it's not a vicious thing. It's like just I know disability isn't normalized, so I'm just trying to normalize it for you.
They can almost get defensive where you don't really
Yeah,
want to like tell them because you're almost scared to like make them get angry, you know, and it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable situation and it's like almost you have to like force yourself to do it sometimes. And I think it's very personal. If you feeling anxiety and you're not feeling like advocating that day and like explaining this whole subject to this person, then don't feel like you have to do it and that you're a problem in the community if you're not speaking up that one time. You know, like that's why always when I say like when you see something wrong and you're out and about, like speak up if you feel comfortable to speak up. Don't
yeah.
put your own mental health at risk because you feel like you need to do this for the disabled community, you know, but also realize it's important. And if you don't speak up, then how can you expect them to change their mindset? And how can you expect them to treat the next disabled person any differently if you don't share, you know, your mindset with them? So yeah, I think that's so important, Ashley. How about you, Maya?
Okay. Everything that you guys have said has been super spot on. It's all stuff
Thank
that
you.
I've had to advocate for too, or not felt comfortable advocating for in a moment. But I'm also going to touch on pain in a different way because the first 2 years of my injury, like I wasn't in pain. And now this third year, I've been in so much pain lately, and it's been so different that I have a hard time advocating for myself when it comes to like being at the doctor and stuff because those who know my story and those of you who don't, I was in my addiction prior to being injured, you know, and that is recognized medically, you know, it's in my paperwork. And that wasn't an issue because I didn't need pain meds before. And now sometimes I do. So when the doctors look at me like, oh, well, you can't like feel a lot of your body, like you're not really in pain, you don't need to go back to using drugs, or stuff like that, I sometimes have a hard time advocating for myself because it just feels defeating, because I don't want to constantly explain like I'm not the person who I was 4 years ago. I'm not the same person that I was when I was on drugs. Like I'm a completely different person. Like God and my disability have changed my life completely. So it's hard for me, and yeah.
Yeah, I honestly can imagine because I have a hard time asking for more medication as well. And I find myself always saying, I don't want any more than what I need. I just need the minimal so that I'm not in pain so I can function through my day. Like, I'm not trying to be all drugged out. And I repeatedly tell them at the doctor's office because I feel almost attacked for saying I'm in pain. And I know people do abuse the system, but it kind of sucks because they don't have like a meter to determine who's really bullshitting them and who's not, you know? And I told my doctor, like, I feel at this point like I'm struggling to make you guys understand how much pain I am in, and it's like if almost I feel like I'm making it up because you guys are making me feel so bad for asking for medication, or not even medication. They won't even approve like electric stimulator for me. They won't approve certain injections for me, all this other stuff, but they'll approve like these different dosage of medication as well, and it's just like the system is all messed up. So, I mean, I'm sure that's so hard for you, Maya, having to make them understand. Do you have the same doctor or do you see different ones?
I see different doctors. I was in California when I was injured. So now being in Illinois, it's like a whole new set of doctors.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard because those doctors don't know your full recovery. They haven't seen you grow throughout these last 3 years. They don't know who you were before and who they know now. They just see you requesting like more medication and they just really see what's in your chart. And your chart doesn't really describe who you are, what you fully have gone through, because again, the doctors don't even make good notes all the time neither in there. So again, that goes back to advocating in the healthcare system for yourself. Definitely speak
Yeah.
up because they're not nice. Okay, let's go through the chat real quick before we hop in the last question. Um, The shop had only one disabled parking spot and it had a car with no badge. Someone had to lift me and the chair in, and no disabled facilities at all. Disabled parking is definitely a big one in our community that you always find some jerk just like parking in the double blue lines or, in parking situations. Out here in California, we actually have like these little stickers that like you can put on their windshields, but don't be afraid to write a note and be like, hey, I couldn't get out of my chair because you wanted to park where you're not supposed to park. And I think that's also a hard subject to talk about because there is invisible disabilities and stuff. But I mean, if somebody doesn't have a plaque, it's kind of hard to determine if they need it or not, right? So, Adina, people sometimes view disability as undesirable. Yeah, I think it's like you're not taught. We're not taught right. We're not seeing them in movies. We're not seeing them in romance. We're not seeing them in lingerie billboards. All these disabled people. So it's kind of hard to view them in a sexy nature, and as attractive just in your head. You almost feel like you're doing something wrong. I feel like I get that response a lot from people, and I feel like they still look at my boyfriend like weird sometimes, or like they pity me almost, pity him for being with me, and it's like, okay, what the heck, like he is not the easiest to deal with all the times neither, like, give me some props. How about that?
Right. You get those people that are like, oh, you're such a great guy, for like being with a girl in a
Like,
wheelchair.
I know. It's so hard for me to explain that to people. And like in the beginning, I did feel really uncomfortable because I was like, I do like appreciate him a lot. He does do a lot for me, like maybe he does deserve this, but I feel like it just kind of boosted his ego up way too much. And I was like, whoa, 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 like step it down a notch. It doesn't mean that you're an angel just because you're with somebody with a disability. Like, no, you still have your flaws too, buddy. So don't be thinking like that, and I feel like that goes for any relationship at all. Like, you don't get put on some pedestal for taking care of me. The heck, it's because like, yeah, he does do stuff for me, but I also do stuff for him. It's a partnership, and I don't think people realize that. I even read the comments sometimes on like other people, like moms pages and stuff like that, or if a guy is with a a quad. I see a lot of comments on those types of posts as well, like feeling sorry for them almost. And it's like, it's so frustrating because it's just so not the case. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you that. A lot of them will tell you that, and it's just like the view that they have on us. I don't know. So frustrating. Anyways, Kyle, I broke my neck almost 5 years ago. C6. I stood up after 3 months. Since then, it's been an ongoing struggle. I thank God that I can be an inspiration to others, and knowing that there's others out there. Much love. Oh, yeah. It's definitely a hard roller coaster, and you're going to go through those different days. But I think if that helps you realizing that now you're an inspiration and that helps you get through your day, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Andrew, some people ask me about my manhood. That's a question I hate. People have very wrong views about sex too with disability. I don't know why. Like, I feel like I know. I'm just like, okay, like you get injured and they just sew up your vagina. Like, what the heck is this view on people? I don't understand like the way that they're understanding. But I guess like because they view it as such an like a physical activity, that's where it goes wrong in their head. So, and also because we're saying we're paralyzed from the waist down or we're paralyzed from the neck down. So in people's head, they just automatically think you can't feel, you can't do nothing, like whatever, So I think that is definitely hard, but I don't think that you should be offensive about it. I think you should come at them joking and be like, what the heck? Like, what about your manhood? I mean, like, just play sarcastic with it. Don't feel bad. Matthew, hello ladies, you're all awesome. For me, trash cans with the foot lever to open the lid, even in accessible restrooms. WTF, lol. That is so funny. My boyfriend recently got a new mop, and in order to make the mop like twist out, you have to step on this lever, and he didn't even realize it. And I'm just like in the kitchen and I'm like turning it and I'm like trying to make the water go out. I'm like, how the heck do you use this? It didn't even dawn on me that there could be a lever. So yeah, definitely frustrating. But again, speak up. Ben, the last one. Most of my chronic pain comes from pressure and swelling on my spinal cord. Ibuprofen mixed with narcotics helped me a bunch. 10 milligram narco, 8 milligram, what is that? Dialid? I don't know if I'm saying it right. And 400 milligram ibuprofen. Yes, definitely different people need different mixtures. So it's kind of hard because it's like for me, certain pain medication makes me feel more nauseous and hard. But I think it's like a different cocktail for everybody. People need different things. But I think it's hard when you throw previous addiction into the mix as well. A lot of people that have spinal cord injuries afterwards suffer with that because it's kind of hard to manage your pain and be aware of your addiction as well. So, and I think that's something that I'm very aware of too, because I was raised with addict parents and in an addict family. So my mindset was like, I don't want to take all these pills because I've seen my family take pills unnecessarily and then be people that I didn't know anymore. And I was so scared to become that. So I think that was hard for me to be able to like manage, like, no, it's okay to take this small milligram dosage to manage my pain. Like that's normal. That is when you're supposed to be taking these pills, when you are in this pain, not when you're not. So I had to switch that in my head a little bit. So yeah. So the last subject that we're going to talk on really quickly is just the definition of disabled. Sean and Tom touched on this last week in their show, and I thought it was so interesting because Tom was like, when he was small, he looked up the word disabled, and the synonyms for it, the similar words were just so harsh and mean, and doesn't describe us as a disabled person, and it can be frustrating and can put people down that are newly injured and looking up that word and seeing like, I literally saw lame as one of them, and what was the other one, Maya? Tragic or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, there's like tragic, infirm, weakened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just like, it's like, can you imagine like being newly disabled, going and looking at that word, like you're being called that for the first time ever in your life, and you're going to go see what it's about. You look it up and like, these is what you are now. Like, that's what you're labeled as, is these mean words, And so I think it's important to change that perception in your head. And I think it would be really cool if we could add some new words in there. So I asked the girls to look up some words and see what other definitions they would add to similar, which is kind of hard. I realized because it's like a lot of personal definitions. So you can't say everybody who's disabled is motivated. Everybody who's disabled is, you know, whatever the case may be, courageous or whatever. It's kind of hard because it's personal definitions. I understand that, but yeah. So let's go through them. Jessica, did you come up with any words, love?
I don't think I came up with words. I I think of something more of like taking words back. I have a friend who has a page. It's called Crippled is Beautiful, and just I think crippled is one of those words that it's like I say it a lot with my friends. Again, I have a big group of disabled friends, so you know, we are the Crip Crew or Cripples, or, and to us, I think it's just more of like owning the word and taking it back. So I think that's what I would say. It's not always. I think it's more of how we look at the word than the word itself.
Love that so much. How about you, Maya?
So I was looking this up today, and all I came across was the synonyms, and I had a hard time, finding a different word because, like you were saying, Brianna, it's hard because it's very personable. So, Jessica, I love what you said so much, and that's a switch that I'm gonna make in my mind. It's like it's about owning the words back. It's about taking those words and changing the perception in your mind. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that so much. How about you, Ashley and Nikki? Did you guys come up with any words? Or you guys have
Yes.
any view on this?
I have some words, and I think my words describe every disabled person. Okay.
Okay, let's hear them, girl.
So I have resilient, because I don't care how people don't resilient and inspiring or not. You are inspiring. You are resilient. You survived something traumatic, and that goes for a lot of things. If you survived something, you're resilient. Like you didn't die. You're not down yet. You can always lift yourself back up. So pull yourself out of that dump because you are resilient, even just for surviving itself. That's one. Two is strong. I think people with disabilities, we are strong, and I don't care if you can only lift like a pencil. You are strong in other ways. People don't realize how hard it is to just wake up every morning sometimes for disabled people. We're strong mentally, we're strong physically, we're just strong in all aspects. Like sometimes my legs feel 50 pounds
Like
each.
you need your
like
whole
that's
body
a
to
lot.
function. I could never.
Yeah, like we don't need our whole body to function, and somehow we do it. Like people with pain, people who deal with any type of disability, they're dealing with stuff that's strong. Like that takes strength every single day to like wake up and just live sometimes itself. And then I wanted to add a third because I needed to add a physical, but we're all sexy, okay?
Oh,
You are all beautiful.
okay.
We are all beautiful. I used to always say this when I was little, and I still believe it, and I'm happy I did. But I used to say everyone is beautiful in their own way, and that's still so true. We are all beautiful in your own way. Believe it or not, we're all so beautiful. Disabled bodies or not, we're gorgeous. Like your disabled medical stuff, if you have to carry them around with you, that's beautiful too. Like just look at yourself, you're beautiful. Like everyone's beautiful in their own way, like little Nikki said. You know?
Like little Nikki.
Hello, Nikki.
Mine, I think.
Oh, I love it.
Synonyms too. Okay. Ready for my words?
What are your words, Ashley?
My word. My first word is worthy.
Oh, I like
it. Oh, that's a good one.
That's like, yeah. I mean, that speaks for itself.
That's like for everyone, really, though.
Yeah, exactly. So why isn't it under there? And then, you ready for this one? Ready? Human.
Aww.
Oh my god, that's what I thought of.
That is cute ones. You guys came up with good ones. Mine are not
Yeah,
that good.
you guys get the prize.
I know. Winners,
Right.
winners. Woo! The ones that I came with was adaptable, because I think adaptable is a good one to put inside of there so people can see like your life is not over. You can adapt things if you're disabled. Like, we live in a world that's not made for us, but you can adapt a lot of different things to make your life still worthy, you know, and still enjoyable. And then tough, which kind of goes with strong, you know. I just feel like we're tough as disabled people. Like, if you're disabled and you're living inside of the society, you are a tough individual, you know. And so own it, own these words, and realize that you are not these negative, nasty words that people in society put on you. But yeah, so I think that that's so important. I love it so much. Okay, let's make sure that we have nothing else going on in the chat. Peter, my wheelchair will never define me. Yes, love it.
Brianna,
Andrew, empowerment and Phoenix. Woo, rising. Rising
you
from
guys,
the fire.
I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna head out.
Yeah,
But
thank you
I
so much
love
for joining us, Jessica. We're almost gonna end anyways. So maybe I should just close it out really quick. Let me just close it out. So thank you guys so much for joining us. This was the Live to Roll show. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe, and to join Sean next week and us every first and third Thursday. We'll be back with Women Disability Show. So stay updated with us. We appreciate all your support so much. We love you guys so much. This was Live to Roll. We're out. Bye.